Hello everybody. Alright, we did the demo in the last video, and now we're going to actually build the onboarding. So without further ado, let's go to my desktop. Alright, as you can see, this is my SharePoint page, our videos. So first thing we want to do is we're going to create our Canvas app. Right? So what we're going to do is we're Power Maker, which this is the way you go to make that Power Apps. It's takes you to the same place. So this is my maker port. We're going to go here, hit create, link app. Now you can make this out of, you could just make a document library and do it off of it. And most people who do this don't need it. Canvas apps get you a lot more. So I'm going to call this video. Okay. And I always make them on a tablet. You hit create. It's going to open it up. Now, that's doing that. I'm going to open my source data, which is the onboarding. So I do this last. So do the thing. Onboarding library. Now, when I first started out with this, all I did was create. I use documents. You can see the icon on the left side here. I use document sets in a document library because you make your library initially. Right? On your site, go back real quick. All right, on your main site, you have a new menu right here. You hit new, document library, and you create your library. Right? So, and then once you're there in your library, you got to do a few things. I know I've gone over this in videos before. So you're going to go to library settings, your library if you choose to, and you hit save. Then you come back in here, go to more. In library settings, you're going to turn on content types. So you're going to settings. You're going to go allow document management of content types. You're going to DS. Down here, whenever I do document sets, I turn the new folder feature off. You don't want them creating folders and folders. It's document line. It's data. It's not storing lots and lots. You got to organize them with folders. This is simply a two-level system. So you got your top level folder, and then you get folders. You don't want to go any more than that. So I turn this off. Okay. Now, if you have sensitive data, you need to turn this feature off too. You do not want it showing up in search results. And if you have sensitive data, here's another thing that sometimes I turn off. It depends on what the app is. Turn off quick edit. So this settings. And down here, I turn on new experience. Now, once you do that, your content types will pop up. What you're going to do is you're going to go add from existing content types. And then when this loads, you don't see it here because I don't have it up. But it says document sets. You're going to click that heading and click add over here. Then you're going to hit OK. Okay. And once you do that, it's going to pop up document set under document. They're switched on mine. I always make the document set the primary and the only visible thing in the document content type still needs to be there for the files. It's the content type uses a load device. So what I do is once I add it, come in the change new button order. I deselect document, and then I change document set to 1 and 2. and that will put us in the present right now. The other thing you need to do is you need to actually open up the document set, content type. You're going to come down here to, whoops, no, you're going to go to document set settings. Now, if you need any kind of metadata that you're going to put at the top level of your document set, go down to all your files. You need to come down here to the shared column section. Anything that's visible, show up here. And the one thing I transfer from the top level down to the files is the email that's attached to it. Because I use the email to identify, user does what. See my document in this instance, I'm using a document set to identify. Everything to do with that person is inside that. All the metadata and all the supporting files that go. So I turn on email. Now, a few other things. Now, my flow that I'm going to make later on actually transfers a few other things. Type of document. Section number, what it is. I'll probably remember later. Maybe it's section, but it just deals with the files. I don't transfer much. Right? So there's that. Run content type again. Now you can hide and show stuff in here that you want. I don't mess with it usually. But the other thing you need to get is this little number up here where it's, see, this is, okay, here it is. C type. The C type up here. C type, the C type number that follows this, you're going to need this for the workflow. So you need to copy that number, put it in a notepad somewhere, save it somewhere, so you can, or you can just come back here and copy it. But you will need this number as in the future when you build this. And at that point, I build these columns out as I needed them. There's not a lot of columns, probably like 40 at the most. Well, let's see here. Open up our view, and it'll count for you. Now, this number is higher than what it actually is. All documents works good because everything below, anything that's unchecked down here, typically was built with the thing, but this one isn't. So, building number I put in here, city. These descriptions came with it. One description goes to the library, the other description goes to the documents. There's a description for each content type. First name, name. Name is up at the front, so I know I'm not going to select. I'm just trying to find out. I'm just trying to find out how many columns. Number. Streets. I'm not going to. I don't use titles. So come down here. Okay. Try it. Then I'm going to come in here. Edit it again. So see what the number is. Cool. Here again. See it added it. Okay, so I use a total of 44 columns. That was close. 7 between 30. So it's not horrible, but yeah, that's my library. And I started out with just the basic stuff here. Work and personal and work stuff I could possibly capture as an onboard. And then, the course name, stuff like that. Put in the demo, these all came later, course 1 through 8, and then, all the different struggles that I needed to capture. It always starts out small and gets bigger and bigger. So let's go back to the Power App. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to build the main screen, our loading screen. I'm going to change this to You can call the screen names whatever you want. It makes it easier so you know what the function is. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is I'm going to put in some buttons, right? I need to launch my 3 buttons, right? I got my button that launches my onboarding module. Got my button that launches my user search. Button that launches team search. Right? And I kind of arranged it in a way that it works well together. Galleries are going to be over here. Button will be over here for onboarding, and then these 2 up here will be my searches, right? Let's go ahead and let's drop our 3 buttons on here. Over here. It and paste. Now, let's go ahead and put some graphics here. So use to work for good and transparent. And then I'm going to turn the border on. Get back. Boom. Even. Okay. Then I'm going to insert a inside my rectangle. To search. Hold. Center it. Then to give the effect of line being underneath. I did with that rectangle. And then if you really want to get fancy, you can put a background color. Make it look prettier. You know, here. And I'm going to my button. Boom. There's our little graphic for that. Okay. I'm gonna make these a little bigger. It's easier to see. This will be my. See, the left side is going to be a. Then this one will be teams. Okay. And then this one down here. Red. I. So thing. Oh, there we are. Now the way I differentiate between these 3 things is either change screens or I put variables on it, turn them on. Now for these 2 up here, I'm going to use variable that I use when I go to the onboarding screen. It's going to be the same variable. So this one here, select, go, set, global variable, user mode. What mode are we going to look up these people? This will be, so this user search. and close it. Doesn't like that. I do. Oh, I put an equal sign to this. All right. What I'm going to do is I'm going to do this. Same thing here, except it's be instead of user service. Okay. Now for both of these, I'm gonna make a separate screen from this one for our thing, so I can't put coordinates. So, and then one thing I do is I like to put a here, upload, put an image, onboarding. Go. See it. Well, I'll just use this up, save, and then I'm gonna drag it onto my canvas. Same corner, or now, as you can see, it's like taking over everything, right? Even if I to the back, it's still going to be taking, right? There's a property called transparency. It's between 1 and 0. If you want a higher number you go, the less you see of it. We go like 0.9. To 0. See how light it is? So typically around 0.6 use. Uh, that works. All right, so there's that. And then, like I said, we're gonna come back to this later because we need some stuff built first before we can start putting stuff. All right, so let's start tree view. Get another screen. This is going to be our onboarding. I'm going to call it. And here's where we're going to put our onboarding. I have my other one up. This one. So we're going to go. So what we're going to do is we're going to do green. Okay. Then we're going to insert our here. Be big enough to hold. This is going to be numbers. Font a little bigger. Center it. Color. Make right so you can see it really well. Okay. And insert some icons onto the task onto the box. Some stuff from later. Oops. And right up here. See this? I'm going to copy and paste this. One of these is going for search. search. Other one, new items. Okay. These two I'm gonna make a little list. I'm gonna bring them down low. So it's our home button. This home button is going to go back to our loading page. This is going to take me to a search, and this is going to take us numbers. We have. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to put our headers in. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to insert another text label here. Up a little bit. This one's going to be our. This is going to be our ID to our library. So what? Make it bigger. These are all going to be blacks. My color black. And my. Then I'm going to make 2, 3, 7.7 of these. No face. Then these depends on and goes. Now what I'm going to do here, I'm going to base what these are. My okay. And the way you do that is you go to your width. The width is looking for a number. So right now it's 84 pixels. Now, not all my fields are going to need to be 84 pixels, right? I mean, some things have names, some things. So what I do is I just go length self.text times, and it's usually like 30 or 40. It's pretty close. As you see, it made it about right. Okay. If I go in here, now I'm going to reselect them all again to they seem to text selected as so first one is going to be okay. And then against this. Okay. All right, so that's way too wide, right? So we're going to go back to width and we're going to adjust it. Need it that much. When you don't have letters that are uniform, makes it a little hard to get the width right. So you gotta adjust. The number I just put in there is just to get us started. Next one is last name. I'm gonna leave last name like it is. Okay, somebody's last name. This one will be first name. Come down, put it over here somewhere. Then the next one is section name. Section director, whatever you want to call it. Important. And the next one, the email address. Now, this is really wide. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to these fields. I'm going to make it a little, go back to 15. First name probably feels smaller. Smaller. And this is our, call it record actions. It's not just one action. Okay. Now, what I want to do now is I want to center all these images. Put them all again, and then we're going to center them. Boom. Our headers are done. Now, what I'm going to do after this, once I get these right, I'm going to match my gallery up to these headers. So the width and the position of each of these headers is going to be hard-coded into the thing. So like if you make these wider or narrower, it's going to auto-adjust the gallery. Keep them in sync. So next we're going to do is we're going to build our gallery. So the layout, we're going to create a, since each row is going to be the same height, we don't really need to all right, so here's that gallery. Now, I have no data source. So what we're going to do is we're to the data source. We're going to add onboarding data source, right? So we're going to here's and SharePoint, my connection, and then we're going to go into my dev site. And in my dev site, we're going to look for onboarding. Now, there's one other one I'm going to add because I'm going to need to use my collection of state names and data source, and it's actually called data source. It's kind of like a miscellaneous dumping ground. Use it. Crank both those up. And then since I'm doing data, I know I'm going to need Office 365 users. So we're going to, and here. Oh, I think that's it. Okay, so I got these. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my data source. I'm going to select onboarding library. Now, when you're doing this, you got to understand when you're making document sets, you're making folders. And inside those folders, you're dropping files. Well, inside a library, everything has an ID. So if I leave it just like this, the files and the folders will come up as separate. It will not be coordinated at all. So what we need to do is we need to filter this data source. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to type, first I'm going to do sort, filter, onboarding library. Then I'm going to say, I'm going to use the property is folder. This folder was true. So it'll only list the folders. I only want the documents, nothing else. Okay. I'll close that. And then what I want to sort off of. Now I can do by ID, I can do by last name. So we're going to do last name just to keep it simple. And then I want, now if you're going to do more than one sort column, you need to sort by columns. I learned that today. So we got that in there. Now we got to put our data in here, right? Set up the data source, because if you look down here, see there's data here, but because we have no controls to put them in, it's not going to display. A little pencil here, labels. I use labels because then they can't be written. So, my first label in there, And we want it to be the height, the width of the header, right? And the position. So what I do is I can see here 3, 3, 1, 3, 2. Then I got them out of order. So this one's 3. Do this. I'm going to say is this label is 0. Now I could leave it as 0. I think is that's just for sake of consistency. So we're going to put label 3.x. If I move that ID around at all, that field's going to. And then we're going to go to width, do the same thing. Label 3 width, and it makes it same width as this. So now if I go like this, make it bigger. See, it stays together. What I do. Okay. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy and paste to silver a little bit. Just now I'm going to use 3_1 and do the same thing. Now I'm going to pause the video. I'm going to do this for all these, and you don't need to be watching this. When I'm done, I will start the video. Okay, I'm back. All right, so if we look at our section here, we got ID, this item name, first name, section, email address, and then the record actions down here have three little icons. Which now we got to assign values to these text boxes. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna select my labels. Now you see they're all touching each other. So we're gonna go down to text. So that's the field we need. First thing is going to be ID. Okay. See, it's really wide. And we're going to fix it. That's the size. That's not what we want. This one is going to be our image, picture image. And we're going to. Oh, that can't be a label. All right, so I'm going to delete this one. This needs to be an image control because we're going to display this up, media, image, then put it inside the galleries. It. I'm going to select it inside here and paste it. Now, so this is 3.1, so we're going to have to reline it up. Pretty is going to be 3_1 dot y coordinate, and then I'm going to set my width to my label or to my header. Okay, and then I'm going to set my height 40 if I remember right. The rest. You know what? Make it 80, just so it's a little easier to see. And this is why we wait to put our template size in here. We want to see what all these are going to be first, and then we'll resize. All right, so this is going to be last name. Let me first. Section. Their emails. Okay. And then we're going to select our whole gallery. We're going to come down to the template size. And since my biggest thing is 40, see what it did? Kind of, we took everything, right? We just got to header 280. It works. All right. That's only because I made the picture so large. Okay. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to select all our text fields. I'm going to make them centered, just so it looks right. Now, this picture is really large. I'll be able to have the 2 lines. Now we're going to put our 3 icons in the gallery here. This B in here. Right here. Just again. Just again. I don't want these white. I want these blacks. So you can see them. Okay. This first one is going to be your edit your record. Right? So the information you put on your new screen, we got to be able to edit it later. So I'm going to change this one to like doc down here a little bit. Right. Um, there's that. Next one's going to be, we're going to open up our record in the dashboard view. So we're going to find something. We'll put a trending thing. And then, of course, the last one's going to be our right. Set. Let's do it this way. Okay. So these are going to be our record actions. Okay. This one's going to open up our edit. This is going to open our edit form. This is going to open up our dashboard. And this is going to remove the record if we need to. Okay. Now, the trash one's the only one we can really do right now. Go ahead and knock. We're going to do a remove. Source. This item. Remember, this item is a record. We want to remove the whole record. So that's what we put in there. Now, if we're trying to remove certain data, we're going to put this item dot. We're trying to remove the whole record. So these two we're going to have to build out, but we're not going to do that right now. Next thing we're going to build out, now this is done. Okay, so this one, I need to add, I need to put data. So for this field, it's called image. Right? And we're going to tell it which image it goes. This item. Sure. And boom. Here's everybody's picture it pulled from SharePoint. Okay. Now, I'm going to minimize this. New screen. Submit. New. Form. Not really a form, it's a screen, but it is what it is. To mine. Now, what I did on mine is I created a 2 separate. And this form is not a traditional form control. I like custom forms because it makes it easier to move stuff, and everything's individualized. Makes a lot of controls, but I like it. First thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna get rid of the blue white back to green up. Okay, we're gonna put in our banner. Okay, we're doing. It's gonna be the user, right? The user. Now, this is not only going to, this screen is not only going to be used for making new users, it's going to be for editing current users. So a lot of times what I'll do is I'll put a conditional statement in. Okay. So the form mode's edit versus new, you know, we put edit user or put an if, but we're going to wait because when we go to edit from the onboarding screen, we got to set a variable so the thing knows whether it's new or it's either new. Okay. So we're going to just leave it like this for now. Get bigger, bold, center it, make the background color blue, color. Now you can do fancy things with this too. You can make a funky description. Right? Now we're going to start building out our form. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to set up where they have a token or not. So some people come with to a new job and they have their token already, and some people don't. What I mean by token, I mean you put in your computer so you don't use it. So, well, at least the DoD does. Now the civilian world, you know, use username. Instead of doing a smart card, we're going to say, do they have an Active Directory? So first thing we're going to do is we're going to put in a text label here. So we're going to say log on account created, because this will make it do two different actions depending on what's. We're going to put in some radio button because this is a single select. Is right here. Now, when you put it on here, it's going to be big and it's going to be configured wrong. Okay. So what I'm going to do over here is we're going to go to layout. So we'll go layout. We're going to change this from vertical to horizontal. Start with. Then the radio size needs to go down. Right? And then we're up a little. And then I'm going to configure what the options are. Okay. Little items, right? So we're going to make two options here. First one's going to be yes. No. Sit up. There you go. Now, so based on what you select here, depends on what. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to put a people picker in here. So like if you do have an account created, they can put the people picker which can automate, filling in some of the boxes for you because it's your AD account. And hence why I did the Office 365 users. So let's go insert a text button here underneath of it. Say N for 1 second left. Okay, and then I'm going to have to go right. But all right, so we're going to come down here and we're going to select combo box. Okay. Here. Longer. Then we're going to go to items. If is blank. Search text. So basically, it's gonna. I'm setting this up so that way when I start searching, it's gonna go. "365 users, search user, search term, self text." Okay. Now, when you make something into a people picker, you need to make sure the searching is turned on, and don't want multiple selection turned on. You need to turn that off. Okay. And then the other thing you need to do is on your fields, you need to make sure this is on person, and then it's on display name fields. Otherwise, when you search it, nothing's going to. Okay. Now, our people picker is set up now. Now I want to pull default information from Azure. For example, your last name, your first name, your email address, your phone number, your manager. You can pull a bunch of stuff out just from filling in this one box. You can fill in several boxes. And that's what we're going to do next. Pause the video for a second. So I went ahead and copy and pasted in from my other app, so I didn't have to type in, but they're virtually going to be identical. So this first line says if is blank self.selected mail. Okay. I don't want any of this stuff running unless there is something in here. The reason I do that is because if you set up a default value, yeah, it'll display a name in there, but it won't have any data in the control. It's just displaying data. It's not actually looking. So this property will be blank. We don't want this. We can't pass a blank value to this, otherwise it'll give you a bunch of errors. Okay. First thing I'm doing is I'm setting a variable called new user last name. And what it's doing is going to Office 365 user profile, and it uses that data from this right here to figure out the surname. The surname in Active Directory is the last first name, given name, email, mail. So it's right. Now, work phone is got a lot of stuff going on in here, and that's because I want to strip out all the symbols and crap out of it, so that way I can format the phone number in a way that Microsoft likes to put +1, 3 digits, space, 3 digits, and a dash, and then the 4 digits. This gives you a weird number, right? So what I'm doing is I'm substituting out all those symbols and all that craziness, so I have nothing but numbers, and then down here I'm using a text command to put it. Okay. What I'm doing is, see here, I got a parentheses, or wait, I got see. Oh, I'm taking a comma out first. Then I'm doing the right parentheses, and the hyphens, space, and then the +1. Probably think I'm missing the. Oh, no, no, no. That's what that is. It's the left parentheses right here. Okay. Just taking all those out, and then I'm converting it to a number, the value. Then I'm taking that value and push it against this. See, if you're converting something to numbers, you got to start. It's converting it, and then it's saving it to that. Once it's done, it'll save it to that variable as new user. Now, the reason this is all like screaming at me, workflow that's supposed to be in here that pulls in this information. I'm going to set that here in a minute after I get done talking. Then then we got our job title. It's pulling image, Active Directory, and then down here is where it looks up the manager. And I put a condition statement here because president company obviously doesn't have a boss, so it's not going to have a manager. It's going to blank. So I basically told it if it's not the president, run it. Otherwise, now we're going to talk about this one right here. It says var new user EDIPI, which EDIPI is a government term. It's basically your employee ID number. Okay? And this flow right here is going to pull it based off your email address. Okay? Over here, I already have the flow already made. So I'm going to go in here, DI, I'm sorry. Okay, get NPID. I have two flows to do the same thing. Didn't realize. Okay, what it's gonna do, it's gonna connect with it. And you can actually edit it from here, as you can see. I don't have to edit it because it's super dynamic. So I don't. Now, as soon as I added that, see what happened? The red line went away. That's because now it sees that name. And all I'm doing here is passing my email address, but I'm converting it into a URL, and then I'm also converting it into so that way Flow can handle it easy. And in a minute here, we'll go over the flow. Okay, we're going to go over the workflow for the employee ID. So I'm just going to open it up in easier. So give it a second, let it load. Okay, this thing has 5 actions in it. First one does nothing. It's just saying it's triggering from Power Apps. Now the email address that we push to Flow goes here into this service right here. Get user profile. What it does is it looks the person's up and brings back a bunch. Now, if you put anything in this field, that means it only brings back fields. I'm only wanting one, the employee ID. Pulling the employee ID and bringing it into the step, puts it in the form of JSON. Okay, since it's a JSON, we got to parse it. So we come down here, the JSON that gets pushed out of here goes into this parse JSON through here with this dynamic content called body of that. And then in here, we have a schema set up that brings in 2 properties. Data, which is in every JSON schema, and then you got employee ID. Okay? It's a type of string. Okay, so it parses it out, and then we're going to push that parse data into a variable because we only want the employee ID. So it separates the OData data from the employee ID, and then we take that employee ID data, push it into the EMPID variable. Now we're ready to send it back to Power Apps. And in here, we're creating a Power App variable called EMPID. And we're taking this variable EMPID and pushing it into here. And then it pushes it back to Power Apps. Now, if you look at the flow here, it says get MPID, run, lower, encode URL, self.selected.mail. And at the end, it has this MPID. That's that variable that got pushed back from flow, and it's storing it in this variable called new user EDIPI. Okay? And the rest of the stuff we already went over. So now what we're going to do is we're going to put these variables as the default values of the respective fields. So now what we got to do is we got to make those fields. So we need to make a last name, a first name, an email, a work phone, employee ID, a job title, photo, and our manager. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm just to save time. I'm going to copy that from my other, just so it makes it easier. Okay. In a second here, and do this over. All right, so I copied it, stick it in here. Now, it actually pasted. There it goes. All right, it's going to throw a bunch of errors because I copied it from another app. So we're going to slowly do this one. This one is the, okay, see, it's using variables from something else. So I'm going to pause the video and I'm gonna start because we need to build this out slowly, not all of this. Just did. So video for a second. I'm going to bring these fields. Okay, I went ahead and put the fields in, and I put the default values in. So basically what you do, you just set up some text boxes here, and then I'm on play mode here. We're going to select one of these. The default value of each of these got a variable in this. So depending on who you put in here, these will auto update. If I change this, say to somebody else, move that, take my name out, put one of my actors. The actors are the people who come with it. Put Diego in here, and you'll notice that all the data changed to him. Now, the employee ID number was not populated by these other people, so I didn't, that's why they're coming up blank. This personal phone, it's something they have to enter. It's not stored on Active Directory. Now, it does have a field for it, but nobody ever fills it. Okay, so now we're up. This is the first half of the form. Now we got, this is the personal. We're going to do the works. Okay. Now, in order to do this right, what I do is I store the second half in a container. That way I don't have to mark each one individually. It's hidden until these get filled. I just hide the container. I mean, I could do the same thing for this, but it wasn't that hard to do this. I'm going to go ahead and pause the video again, and I'm going to put in the last half, show you how. Okay, I got the second container put in, but right now it's invisible. You can't see it because two of the fields haven't been filled in yet. So I'm going to go ahead and on these fields, other requirement. So as soon as I started typing in that last field, this one popped up. And since this pulled in a manager, it put the manager's name in here. Okay, so the way I did that is the I pulled the manager's email address, but we don't want to see the email address. We want to see the guy's name. So I use the user profile service to convert that email address into a name because email address is a unique. Nobody else has it. So just basically said, hey, look up the email address and tell me what the guy's username is. And then it puts it in here. But since this is a record field, I actually put it in the braces around it, value, and done. Now, when you do something like this, there is no self.selected.mail property. It's just basically putting something in here for you. What you do is you use this variable in its place. Okay? Because on SharePoint, you only want to share the person's, you just don't want to save the person's email because you can convert it to anything you need. Everything else you can't do that with. So you just store it. All right, now, so let's go ahead and let's continue finish this out. Okay, so I went ahead and set up, the different sections that are here. Set as an admin person. Street address, you just type it whatever you want. It's just a text field. Okay. City, whatever you want. State, I'm pulling in. Remember I told you I added that data source? Data source? It has all of the states in here. So you select whatever state you want. Put a zip code in here. Building number and a room number. So that's everything we're going to need for our record, right? Now we got to submit it. Okay? And the way you do that is first we got to create a document set. And the way you do that is with a flow. Okay? It's a different flow than the one we used earlier. Its purpose in life is to go to SharePoint, create a folder, and then populate the title of the folder, and then close it out. Okay? It's folder. Folder is going to store our files later. Okay. Then what we got to do, we got to do two operations when we submit this. Second operation would be to take all this data that we just typed or add, populate, and add it as metadata to the folder. Okay, which you use path. So you got a two-step operation. So the first thing we're going to do is I'm going to pull in flow. So the flow, come over to automate, add flow, and this is going to, I'm just going to type in the word doc. Create doc set. Since each one of these is for an application, I always put what it does, and then I put, if I can find it here, type onboard to be easy. Okay, interesting. Oh, that's right. I'm going to use the dynamic one. With the and fingers. All right, create document set dynamic. Okay, this one works for any app. Okay, as long as you set up the command on Power Apps. We're going to add that first. Okay. Okay, so now we're going to add our button to our form so we can submit this. So we're going to go insert button. I'll make sure you insert this button outside of the container because you don't want to contain here. Want it visible. So I'm going to put on here create user. Now, on our on select, I'll open this up a long time because it's so. First thing we're going to do is we got to make our set. Okay, and the way you do that with this command. All right, we're going to fix it. Oh, I did forget. We're going to create. We're going to create a variable for our document set name, so that way we don't have to type it all into the. Right? So we come down here. But if we're going to use variables, we got to put the variables in first. Up here, some space up there. Okay, so we're going to go set doc set name. It's going to be our last name, then a dash, then our first name, then a dash, then our PIV, which is the employee ID number, and today's date. Okay. Yep. Now we got that in here. Let spaces out. Now we're going to set our doc set ID. Okay, so what we're going to do is when we push our document set to SharePoint, what our flow is going to do is whatever the ID is of that folder, it's going to save it in a variable and it's going to ship it back. So we're going to go set doc set ID, create doc set dynamic dot run, okay, which is right here. Set name. I don't know why it's saying it's not recognized there. Huh. Let's do this. I'm gonna go ahead and comment out flow rate, this flow statement. Then I'm going to oh, that's why. There we go. Now. See if that's oh, yep, that's it. All right, now, so it's recognized everything now. I think because I didn't close this out right, it didn't recognize this as a yet. So we're gonna this var ID that is coming out of flow, it's gonna get stored as a number to that set ID here. But we're gonna run it. It's got 5 parameters. Well, a lot of times you gotta do is you gotta do this. Oops. It's got 5 parameters. You got doc set name, and then it's got the library name, then the URL of the site, and then it's got the title field, which is I'm making the title field and the doc set and the name the same, the file name, and then the ID for the content type. Okay. Now, since this is for the other app, this number is going to be wrong. Okay, so what we got to do now is we'll go back here to our library. We're going to go into the settings, library settings, open up our doc set. Well, actually, this is probably right because I'm using the same data. So you open up your doc set, and then you grab your CT type. Okay, copy it, which I just think Control C, and then put it in between the 2 quotes, paste it, which it's the same. So it's good. Okay, and that's our statement to make our thing. Now, there's Now, once we do that, that brings back our var ID, right? Now, let's go ahead and look at this. This is a simple flow too. There's not a lot to it. We're basically just making a folder and getting the ID from that folder and sending it back to. All right, so we're using the V2 trigger. We're pulling back, we're putting in 5 variables, okay? Docset name, your library name, your site address, title, and the docset ID, just like I said, okay? First thing you're doing is we're going to create the folder. Now, the only way I can make this thing dynamic so I can use it for multiple apps is using API calls. And the way you do that is through an HTTP request to SharePoint. Okay. So most of everything in here is variables. Okay, there's nothing static in here unless it's the call itself. All right, so first thing we're doing is the site address. Site address is the site address, right? The website that the document library lives on. It's the address to it. The method's going to be post. Remember, we're writing to SharePoint, so it has to be a post. It's either going to be a post, a patch, or an update. Okay. Since we're creating something new, it has to be post. And then our API call is API web get folder by server relative URL. And I almost go on my nose, but it's really itchy. And then the library name, and then /folders. Okay, we're going to that portion of the API call. As far as our headers go, we're just doing application JSON. OData is verbose, basically means that's what it's doing. And then the body is metadata type, SharePoint folder, server relative URL, library name, which is a library we're going to, and then / and then the document set name. Document set name is going to be the name of the folder. So that's the part I wanted to point out. This right here is the only thing that's different from everything else. Okay. Now at this point, I need to pull that ID from that call. Okay, once the folder's been created, I need to pull that ID back out. And the way you do that is through this call. And what I'm doing is I'm calling the body of the previous step, and then I'm pulling the dname stuff. Okay, when you run the flow and it comes back and you see the data it gets pulled back from on the output side, you'll see a section called D, and then you're going to find another section called name. And that name property is going to store that ID. And wait, no. This is pulling. Oh, it's filtering the name of since the name can only be one name. There's only going to be one with a certain name. It's basically saying go into the name field, and when the name equals the document set name, pull that in. And then down here is where it calls for the ID. It's basically saying the last record, which there's only one record, so it's saying last, and then it's, oh no, I'm sorry, I'm getting myself confused here. No, this actually is pulling the ID, and when you come down here to this thing, it's going to pull the ID from that. Here they're doing, now since we're updating metadata, update file properties, we're going to do a patch. Patch is a partial save. Okay, patch is just like in SharePoint, in Power Apps. Okay, you tell it what to patch, and it's going to patch it. Okay, all it's patching here is the document set ID, because by default, the document content type will take over. So what we're doing is saying, no, we want this particular ID. We want this content type, not the one you want. That's what it's doing. Okay. So let me go through here. Now we're going to push it. Now the var ID is getting pushed back by this right here. You got D results ID. Okay. And that's what we're looking for. Looking for that ID. Okay, so this is going to have that ID. So now I'm going to go ahead and grab my patch command, my app. Now the patch command is quite long. because we're doing patch command is here. A red. All right, so what did we do? Oh, I got the right number of things here. Patch the onboarding library. Oh, I know why it's. Remember, this is a new field. This is a new form and an edit form at the same time. So eventually, we're going to apply some extra variables that are going to make that an edit field. Right now, it's just a new form. What I'm going to do is I'm going to comment out everything that isn't the, so where it says doc set ID, that's what we need. Oh my God, stop doing that. So I'm going to comment out this part. I want to delete it. We're going to use it later. Keep putting in the order. So we're going to comment out that part. Doing a lookup, onboarding library, ID equals the value of doc ID. Now I'm going to comment the rest of this line to here. Okay. Since the doc ID is coming back as text, I had to convert it to a value. This value right here. I'm trying to figure out why it's getting comment out this new part. So it just goes lookup onboarding library ID equals to yeah. And then I'm going to out. I'll just lookup onboarding library. That out. Still not happy, is it? Oh, I know why. Field names that I remember. To start seeing this one is the RDO one. All right, this one is street address. This one. C. I'm gonna go ahead and pause the video. This is gonna take a few minutes, so be right back. Okay, besides putting names on those fields, I did forget to put one control in. Go over that real quick. You'll notice I have a camera button here, and I got this image thing. This image is your profile picture. Now, what I need to do on here too is I need to set the default. Okay. For right now, the default's just going to be fed from this people picker, right? Because remember, one of the properties I did on change was pull the picture in from Active Directory. So there is a image property here. I'm going to wipe out. Okay. I want to go back to my on change over here. I want to get that. I want to get I want to get this picture variable. And what I'm going to do is on the image thing here, I'm going to go if is blank and the name. We're going to do so we're going to put that there. So that's his picture, right? Now on here, there's an on change. It says on change image 4. So like if we go in here, add this picture, put this picture back in. Let's try. Didn't look at. Okay, so delete this, delete that. And I'm gonna start. So this is how you do it. You grab your add picture control. Now it's like grouped together, and we don't want it grouped together. We want it separate. So what you're going to do is you're going to ungroup it first. It'll give you two different controls. You're going to grab the uploaded image one first, and you're going to move it up. Then I'm going to resize this to a human-sized picture. Okay. Then I'm going to take this. I'm going to frame it around this camera icon. Okay. Then what we're going to do is we're going to make it transparent. We don't need to see it. So first thing I do is I go to fill and I change this one to a 0. What that does is it makes it transparent. Still got letters here, right? So we're going to go to the text key. We're going to delete it. And then there's one other property called change picture to get rid of. And then I think there's a border. No, it's turned off. So when you click off it, it's gone. The thing I wanted to look at was the image property here. It says if blank, add me a button to say. Okay, I see. Yeah, I need to leave that there. So I'm going to go. We're going to go if variable. I wanted to put if the active directory one's there, I'd rather use it first. I'm going to put this blank photo. And then as an else condition, so if it's blank, if this is not blank, it's going to use the photo. If not, it's going to do the rest of this. And so to put a second if in there, I got to put that at the end. So you see how it's using that active directory picture first? Because it's there. And I got to change this to image 4. And we're done. So it looks like you're clicking on the picture icon. You're not. You're clicking on that transparent thing that you can't really see. Okay. So now I think we're ready to make our document set. Another thing I do is with this here, all these controls right here are dictated from this or this. Okay. So if I click no, this won't show up, but all these will, but they always won't. We're not going to get into all that. I just want to get this going. So we can make it nice and pretty later. So now I'm going to this button. It's going to do it's going to create my document set, and it's going to create and it's going to update all the metadata. Once it's done, it's done. Okay. So we go into back into our source. Should have just made another record here recently. So so I'm going to go in here and do hope it's right. I'm going to move this back. So you'll see it says about a minute ago it made this. See that the icon's different, so I know my content ID is working, or my content type ID is working to change it to a content. And even if you do this and then go to your details, it'll tell you that it's content type is set. See, that's how you know you did it right. Okay. Created our custom name right here. And our folder name is actually right here. All right, the section didn't transpose, so that's course one and all that. That's different. See, there's our employee ID. These are all stuff we're going to do later on. Building number, tech issued, cell phone, city, same last name, picture, room number, state it, street name. I mean, we still got we have some issues. Some of the stuff did not, but for the most part, it works. Okay, so let's go back to our Power App. Last thing we got to add here is we need to reset all our fields so that way they're blank when they come up the next time. And we need to navigate back to our onboarding. Right? In order to do that, come down, all this, reset. We have done. It's nice thing about having. Now, this is not what it's called. So we want to go back to onboarding, right? I always like to do that. All right, we'll run it one more time, even though it's already been made. Section wasn't filled in because we did not. Then state wasn't filled in either. All right, so all these are filled in now. Create user again. Every time you create user, it's going to create a new one because it's new. Okay. All right, so when we go back, so I'm going to sort this by sort by last name right now. I want to sort it by D for right now. Change this to D. We can always put name later. Sort this descending. So that way it shows the highest number first. So this is the one I just created. Right? You can see it populates it just fine. If we go back to SharePoint, we should have more. Get another one. Should be a 64 now. Oh, it just updated the correct. So Created this. See if it, in the city would put. See, state's been put in. Their section. See, it put in admin. So everything's working. I just forgot to fill in the boxes. So now if we go back and we hit new again, it should be a blank form. Come on. Oh, I haven't put it in. Close this up. Let's go to the new form. Okay, it didn't reset it. Not everything. It did reset some. Trying to figure out why it's yeah, it should have reset them. It didn't. I know it went past these things because back to the main screen. Uh, Anyhow, that's all the further I'm going to go in this video. We're at an hour and a half, so I'm going to stop and we'll continue in the next video. Next video, we're going to cover making the edit screen and we're going to start building our search screens. And then the last thing we're going to do is build our dashboard for the onboard users or the search users. We're going to make it a little dynamic so that it only shows what needs to be shown. Blank fields won't be shown. We'll go over that in the next. See you there.